Kula Arnava Tantra, says that enlightenment cannot be achieved doing boring practices. It can only be attained by consciously and voluntarily fulfilling our desires. When desire gets a little bit more structured, when we are clear what we desire and we assume it, this becomes ambition. So desire becomes ambition when it is assumed. I desire sex, I desire to be comfortable, I desire validation. To fulfill all these desires, I get a few promotions. I get to be the head of the company. I'll have money, prestige, I'll get validated, I'll have a more comfortable place, and I will be very attractive because I'm so rich and successful. And then those desires, validation, sex, comfort, and maybe I have a desire, or I have this fear, I have an aversion from poverty, which is another aspect of, desire and aversion are the same thing. So I have an aversion from poverty, I'm afraid of poverty, so if I get 3 promotions, I save money, I have a big house, I have whatever sex life I desire, and everybody will validate me for being the success story of the team. So that bundle of desires feed an ambition to get promoted 3 times. And then the ambition, if the personality is strong, overrides the desire. It's late, my body desires to sleep, I continue working. I get the first promotion. I am wanting, I don't know what, I had the habit of porn, and now I don't have time for porn. I got to work more and discipline myself and be very impressive. I let go of this, I let go of some superficial desires, and I'm all for the ambition. I get the second promotion, and then I cut some more of the superficial desires, and I'm burning with ambition. I get the 3rd promotion, and then once I get it, what do? I go back and fulfill all those lower desires. And the ambition also holds the promise, as Blandine said, to fill that hole in the heart. How to fulfill it? By fulfilling a bunch of desires. Now I get so validated, now I get so much actual sex, not porn, actual sex, and now I'm so comfortable and so rich. Me and my children and grandchildren don't have to worry about money. But if all these ambitions were based on selfish desires, the ambition itself is selfish, the heart doesn't get any food. And in the end, there is still that empty space, and there is this terrible emptiness. What happens with ambition is that we get very self-righteous about what we want. And whereas in desire we can be a bit sneaky and so forth, a little bit manipulative to get our desires, a little bit like, yeah, I'll love you tomorrow morning, let's just fulfill my desire now, I'll love you forever, for sure, let's fulfill my desire. In ambition, we get a sense of self-righteousness. I have to fulfill my ambitions, I'll get promoted. You think you're better than me? I'll introduce you to my elbow. People get, when they are ambitious and the essence of the ambition is selfish, they get violent, they get stressed, they get pressed, they get selfish in a way which is intelligent, which is like the basis of what they do is completely unreasonable because you're trying to fulfill that hole in your heart. That's what you're trying to do, but you go completely off. And then you do it in such an intelligent way of going in the wrong direction. The second type of ambition comes not from desires, but from actual heart inspiration. Somebody feels inspired in the heart. The world needs this type of doctor, this type of research. The world needs this type of message set out. And then the person loses the inspiration of the heart, he has it as a memory, and then that turns into ambition, which is of course much better than the ambition from the desire, because that aspiration from the heart can actually fulfill you. But what happens is that people forget the state of the heart, and eventually the ego would hijack. It's like when you fall in love. You fall in love, and that's really coming from your heart, and then you have this, no, I gotta reach, I gotta get that person, and in time you get completely obsessive and violent about getting that person, because it degraded from aspiration of the heart, from the need of the heart, to ambition, one level lower. Or you wanted to write this book to really bring a message which was there alive in your heart that day, that week, when your heart was alive and inspired, but then in time you lose that. You lose the actual inspiration, and you end up very ambitiously writing a book which doesn't have heart and doesn't fulfill your message. It has some memories, but you didn't write it from your heart, and it loses the liveliness. So these are the two types of ambition, either one from desires, rising to a reasonable assumed ambition, or a memory of a heart aspiration. And what you need to do, just as a go-to, if you have a heart aspiration and it turns into ambition, your ambition should be to return to the heart. That's the ambition. Return to the heart, if you are putting your resources somewhere, it is to recall the actual inspiration of the heart. And we will see now the connection between these different degrees of consciousness and the desires, the ambitions, and the heart aspirations.
So basically what we could say is, let's say, to put it into a model, the degree of consciousness going from the very center of our being to the periphery gradually diminishes. So if you can think of the core of your being, the very essence of your being is pure consciousness. If you go from that periphery a little bit out, you're still basking and bathing in consciousness. The needs that you will feel, the choices that you will make are still more aligned with pure consciousness inside of you. We would talk here about the needs of our soul, the deeper desires of our being. As we move further out, there's still a good bunch of consciousness, so that we are able to, let's say, identify with something. So here we would speak about ambitions, like Uriel just described. We have enough consciousness to identify with something. For example, my goal is to build this company. And then on the way there, I can say no to other desires that might lead me off path. So I'm trying to go for this higher desire that I have identified with. There's consciousness there. And on the way, if somebody says, okay, don't you want to come and party with us every night out of the week? No, because I'm trying to build something here. Thank you very much. There's this marsh-mellow test that was done with children who were put in a room, offered a bunch of marshmallows and that were put in front of them, and then the lady would say, wait a moment, I will get some chocolate sauce and extra marshmallows. But please don't touch the marshmallows. If you eat the marshmallows, you can eat the marshmallows now, but then you will not get extra marshmallows. If you don't eat the marshmallows, then you'll get extra. And those children that were able to wait, they would show later on in life a greater likelihood to be successful, to follow their ambitions, basically. They would be able to give up the desire of eating the marshmallow now for having more marshmallows later. And then the same is the thing with the ambition here. I'm identified with a future goal. I have that amount of consciousness to do that. But I'm still following a desire, right? Even though it is a desire that is projected into the future. But I also have the capacity to say no to other desires that might show themselves along the way. Now, further out, on the very periphery of our being, where that light of consciousness from the center is now nearly faded away and is distorted into all sorts of other things, I will find on the most peripheral level, I will find the distortions of addictive desires, where I'm just a play ball of being thrown around from desire to desire, just not even knowing what is happening to me, and being mostly on this automatism of following desire. Now, again, it is the same light that shines from the center of consciousness all the way to the periphery. It is very, very dimmed down at the periphery. But still, those distorted desires do originate in the same light. And knowing that, we can now sort of derive a model where we can understand that it is possible to follow a desire and even an ambition all the way back to the light, to the core, to that magnetic pull that arises from the consciousness within our being. Even if we are starting at some sort of addictive level, at some more selfish, ambitious level, it is possible to follow this light all the way back into the core. So I would like you to keep this in mind. There are degrees of consciousness that then define how, let's say, driven by desire you are, how overcome by desire you are, or you might be able even to utilize desire to find your soul, to find that same consciousness that desire rose from. So you can keep this in mind, the core, the consciousness in the center that radiates out, and then the less consciousness there is, the more driven by desire you are. The most out, you are addicted. A little bit more in, you can identify with something specific and follow that. That's what we call ambition. And then let's see what is at the very core of the being.
The Tantric text, Kula Arnava Tantra, says that enlightenment cannot be achieved doing boring practices. It can only be attained by consciously and voluntarily fulfilling our desires. It sounds, okay, no, so stupid. We just spoke about desires are a dead end. How will you get enlightened by fulfilling the desires? Rather to do a boring practice, no? But what Kula Arnava Tantra refers to, what this text refers to, it refers to the fulfillment of the deep soul needs. If you fulfill your deep soul needs, you will bring your entire system, your entire being into balance, into harmony. That's the essence of the Tantric path. And if you understand the soul needs and how to fulfill them, you got basically everything.
Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.